Hello adventurers, dungeon delvers, and tabletop gamers. I'm your host Phoenix with Dungeons & Masters, and for my first video series I'll be reviewing all of the Unearthed Arcana playtest material that's been released to date, covering one per video. This is the first one I like to call the Eberron update, as that is the setting focused on for this first wave of unofficial material, at least at the time of printing. Please note this will be an ongoing series, meaning I'll be covering all the future updates to the game as well. But, you gotta start somewhere, so why not at the beginning? This was an article published by Mike Merles on February 2nd, 2015, kind of similar to the first wave of playtest material for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and they kind of go over that here. Let's just kind of go ahead and go over everything. So here it just kind of tells you a little introductory paragraph about the different stuff going on. Think of it similar to, the aforementioned D&D 5th edition, first wave support, whatever. They explain that it's going to be some Eberron material. And yeah, okay. So, moving on into the actual article here. I'm gonna first just kind of go off and list everything, and then I'm going to, after my initial reading, kind of break it down and give my thoughts on it. Maybe draw a few comparisons if I find any relevancy there, and sort of see where I take it from there. I don't know exactly how long or how often this is going to be done, but I would anticipate setting aside about 30 minutes or so per video in this series, and I'll do it, say, weekly, maybe twice a week if it's really just, either doing super well, or maybe I just have way too much time on my hands. I don't know. I mean, I guess there is a lot of time on my hands now. I mean, who doesn't really? Anyway, I'm not really gonna skip over all this, but I'm not gonna really fully read over it all either. But it's just hey, welcome. This is Unearthed Arcana. D&D R&D is showing off some new stuff, using your games. Consult your DM before use. Yeah. Eberron combines pulp adventure and intrigue in a world where magic-driven technologies produce airships, trains, and similar advancements comparable to early 20th century Europe. The continents of Corvair, the center of Eberron's focus, has recently emerged from the last war. A terrible conflict that saw the kingdom of Sire transformed into a lifeless gray wasteland called the Mournland. The catastrophe shocked the remaining kingdoms into an uneasy peace that has held thus far. Full details on Eberron setting are available in several PDF products available through ddclassics.com. This article focuses on mechanical conversions for several key elements unique to Eberron. So, first off, we have some new races. I believe we have 3. Several unique races are featured in the Eberron setting. Each helps shape the campaign's flavor. The Warforged are a living reminder of the last war's legacy, and the uncertain future that faces Corvair. Changelings are masters of intrigue and deception, the perfect choice for a campaign that runs in the shadows. Shifters embody the tension between Corvair's natural world and its future, as growing cities and magical technology push against the wild. You'll notice that the Kalashtar are not included in this update. The Kalashtar are a psionic race, but the 5th edition of D&D doesn't yet have rules for psionics. Once such rules becomes available, perhaps in a future edition of Unearthed Arcana, we can take a pass at them. So, quickly before we dive into the different races here, I do want to take a moment to go over that. Yes, this is a review, so I am going to be giving an overall rating, and of course all of this will be subject to bias and opinion or whatever, because it's kind of, it's my series, so I'm going to be grading them based on my tastes, how enjoyable I feel the class is. Obviously, I am going to have a decent portion of thought poured into the fun and versatility of the class, and just whether or not I think it'll be worth playing the races for like people in general. But keep in mind that above all else, this is like where I personally would put them, and then we can kind of go back as a retrospective and sort of look at where I place certain races or playtest content above others or below others, and sort of compare and contrast from there. So Changeling. Changelings are subtle shapeshifters capable of disguising their appearance. The ability to adopt other creatures' guises make them consummate spies and criminals. As a changeling, you have the following racial traits. For your ASI, your dexterity and charisma scores both increase by 1. Dexterity increase is good for your armor class. It's good for, just a myriad of different things. If you have any finesse weapons or anything like that, archery, whatever, it's good. Charisma, deception, performance, if you're a bard, I guess that works. Persuasion, just different stuff like that. Size, changelings are built much like humans, but a little leaner. Size is medium, and you still have the base walking speed of the standard 30 feet. You have duplicity, which gives you proficiency in the deception skill, which I really like. Shape changer, as an action, you can polymorph into any humanoid of your size that you've seen, or back into your true form. However, your equipment does not change with you if you divert to your natural appearance. I do really like that you can sort of use this as an open-ended way of like basically shape changing is limited by almost exclusively your imagination and creativity, because since it says purely any humanoid of your size that you've seen, if you've perhaps taken a gander at a wanted poster or have seen some other illustrated image or what have you, or maybe a video feed or just whatever. However it comes up, you've seen an image of someone, you can then sort of take on their appearance and possibly infiltrate and or decimate their lives by sort of asserting yourself as them and sort of trying to replace them. Anyway, that's cool. For your languages, you can speak, read, and write Common and 2 other languages of your choice. Most races, I feel, only get 1, but I think this is sort of to make up for the fact that you don't really have that many ways of being multilingual outside of, the spell comprehend languages. I know your background gives you 1, but, that's usually about it. Next up, we have shifters. Shifters are descended from humans and lycanthropes. Although they cannot fully change into animal form, they can take on animalistic features by a process they call shifting. As a shifter, you have the following racial traits. For your SI, your dexterity score increases by 1. For your size, shifters are about the same size as humans. Your size is medium, and you have a base walking speed of the standard 30 feet. You have dark vision. Your lycanthropic heritage grants you the ability to see in dark conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you if it were bright light, and in darkness if it were dim light. You can't discern color in darkness, only shades of gray. Shifting on your turn, you can shift as a bonus action. Shifting lasts for 1 minute or until you end it on your turn as a bonus action. While shifting, you gain temporary hit points equal to your level plus your constitution bonus, minimum of 1. I guessing by that I mean the constitution modifier. You also gain a feature that depends on your shifter's subrace, as described below. You must finish a short or long rest before you can shift again. For the languages, you can speak, read, and write Common and Sylvan. And there are just several subraces of shifters, each with their own animalistic features. Choose one of the options below. So not all of these are created equally. You'll see 2 or 3 that are just standout favorites amongst the rest, but I would say that all of them sort of have their own place, like their own situations they're good for. So starting off with the Beast Hide. As a beast-type shifter, you're especially tough and persistent in battle. For ASI, your constitution score increases by 1, and while shifting, you gain a +1 bonus to your armor class. For Cliffwalk, your Cliffwalk character grants you the agility of a mountain goat. Your dexterity score increases by 1, and you gain a climbing speed of 30 feet. Long stride shifters are fleet and elusive. Your dexterity score increases by 1, and you can use the dash action as a bonus action. For Longtooth, you are ferocious combat, and your strength score increases by 1, and while shifting, you can make a bite attack as an action. It's a melee weapon attack that uses strength for its attack roll and damage bonus, and deals 1d6 piercing damage. If it hits a target that is your size or smaller, the target is grappled in addition to the damage. That's really good. And then there's the Razor Claw. You can make swift slashing strikes in battle. Your dexterity score increases by 1, and you can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action while in this form. You can use your dexterity for its attack roll and damage bonus, and this attack deals slashing damage. Finally, we have the Wild Hunt. Your Wild Hunt heritage makes you a consummate tracker and survivor. Your wisdom score increases by 1, and you have advantage on all wisdom-based checks and saving throws. So, the best of these, I would say, is probably going to be either the Long Strider, or let me fix this real fast. The Long Strider or the Wild Hunt. The worst, hands down, being the Razor Claw. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just horrible. Cliff Walk's alright. I mean, if you're in a mountainous setting, being able to climb, it helps, I guess. Beast Hide, I mean, sometimes it'll be relevant. I don't really think it'll help out that much, but who knows. I guess if your mobs are rolling against you, it's nice. Longtooth, super good. Probably the second best one here. No, third best. But yeah, top 3 would be, I would say Wild Hunt is the best, followed by Long Strider, followed by the Longtooth, and then from there it's just kind of wherever you want to put them. Next up is my favorite of these, which is the Warforged. The Warforged were made as the ideal soldiers to serve in the devastating last war. Although they are constructs, they have much in common with living creatures, including emotions and social bonds, and perhaps even souls. I really like this just because it goes against everything that you've come to expect from a robot. It kind of takes away all your pre-ascertained knowledge of what exactly makes a robot, and that it's no longer autonomous. It does have emotions of its own. It can make social contact and hold up conversation, perhaps even having souls. I mean, it's just great. I really like that. It kind of reminds me of a super old movie called The Iron Giant. And basically, I'm not gonna spoil the full thing, but it's this little kid who's got like a gigantic robot friend, and he teaches him basically how to become Superman, and it's really cool. Anyway, for SI, your strength and constitution score is increased by 1, so that's really nice. It's kind of like I want to say it's kind of like a slightly worse half orc in that regard, but honestly, I prefer the Warforged to a half orc anyway. A Warforged is generally broader and heavier than humans. Your size is medium. You have a base walking speed of 30 feet. For a second, I actually thought they were going to make it be a bit reduced and give us only 25 feet of movement speed, since, you're kind of heavy. But anyway, composite plating, your construction incorporates wood and metal, granting you a +1 bonus to your armor class. That's always amazing. Living construct, even though you were constructed, you are a living creature. You are immune to disease. You do not need to eat or breathe, but you can ingest food and drink if you wish. Instead of sleeping, you enter an inactive state for 4 hours each day. Do not dream in this state. You are fully aware of your surroundings and notice approaching enemies and other events as normal. So this is basically just an alternate version. It's basically just a reflavored version of Elf's, what do they call it? It's not, like, I've always referred to it as meditating. I know it's not what it is, but, you know, let me quickly just because I feel terrible about not remembering one. Yeah, it's not loading. Well, you know what it is. Anyway, outside of that, yeah, it is called meditating. Anyway, outside of that, you can speak, read, and write common in whatever language of your choice. I don't know. I really like it. I'm probably gonna play Warforged when I do end up playing that that Eberron campaign that I have in mind with a few friends of mine. But right now, I'm stuck in the eternal pit of DMing. So, anyway. There's a new wizard tradition, which is the Artificer. Artificers are a key part of the world of Eberron. They illustrate the evolution of magic from a wild, unpredictable force to one that is becoming available to the masses. Magic items are part of everyday life in the 5 nations of Corvair. With an artificer in your party, they become part of every adventuring expedition. The artificer was a separate class in prior editions of the Eberron setting, a melee combatant who specialized in mystically enhanced arms and armor. The 5th edition rules treat the artificer as a new wizard tradition that focuses on mystical invention, which you can choose starting at 2nd level. For summary, and you have like the wizard level and the arcane edition feature table. So at 2nd level, you get infused potions and infused scrolls. Infused potions, starting at 2nd level, you can produce magic potions. You spend 10 minutes focusing your magic on a vial of mundane water and expend a spell slot to transform it into a potion. Once you've expended a spell slot to create a potion, you cannot regain that slot until the potion is consumed or after 1 week, at which point it loses its effectiveness. You can create up to 3 potions at a time. Creating a 4th potion costs the oldest currently active to immediately lose its potency. If that potion has been consumed, its effects end immediately. So that's really nice. I like it. It's, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to gauge personally how useful it would be, but I would say that it's, you know, it's maybe a little bit above average in terms of most of the traits you'll have in whatever class you'll be playing. Yeah, it's nice. The spell slot determine types. Expand determines the type of potion create. See Chapter 7 of the Dungeon Master's Guide for complete rules on potions. So, using a 1st level spell slot, you get a potion of climbing, growth, or healing. At a 2nd level spell slot, you can get a potion of mind reading or greater healing. 3rd, you get invisibility, superior healing, or water breathing. And at 4th level, you get a potion of resistance. I do like that you can't just like take it all the way up to level 20 or something ridiculous like that, because then you're just gonna have to keep on pulling different escalate, like more and more consecutively powerful potions out, kind of like out of your ass, honestly. And I don't know, it's just like it seemed too busted, but I like that it's only like maximum potion resistance. Infused scrolls at 2nd level, you can also tap in your reserves of magical energy to create spell scrolls. You can use your arcane recovery ability to create a spell scroll instead of regaining expended spell slots. You must finish a short rest and spend 10 minutes with parchment, quill, and ink to create a spell scroll containing 1 spell chosen from those you know. Subtract the spell's level from the total level's worth of slots you gain using arcane recovery. This reduction to your arcane recovery applies until you use the scroll and then finish the long rest. I hate this ability. I mean, I do. It's super crappy. Having to use up your arcane recovery ability in forego recovering your expended spell slots just to get. I mean, no, I'm sorry, but no. Infused weapons and armor. Beginning at 6th level, you can produce magic weapons and armor. You spend 10 minutes focusing your magic on a mundane weapon, suit of armor, shield, or a bundle of 20 pieces of ammunition, and expend spell slots to infuse it with magical energy. Magic item retains enhancement for 8 hours or until used. In the case of magic ammunition, you can infuse only one item at a time. If you infuse the second one, the first immediately loses its potency. Once you've expended a spell slot to collect such an item, you can't regain that slot until the item becomes non-magical. The spell slot you expend determines the type of weapon, armor, or shield you can create. So at a 2nd level spell slot, you can create +1, 20 pieces of +1 ammunition. With a 3rd level spell slot, you can create a +1 weapon or a +1 shield. With a 4th level spell slot, you can create +1 armor. With 5th level spell slot, you can create a +2 weapon or 20 pieces of +2 ammunition. And finally, with a 6th level spell slot, you can create +2 armor. So this ability I really like. Sorry, excuse me. I really like this ability. It's just like super useful because you can choose. It's not just your ammunition, it's your weapon, it's your shield, it's armor, it's your ammo. It's awesome. I like it. Superior Artificer. Starting at 10th level, you can create a 2nd magical weapon, suit of armor, shield, or bundle of ammunition using your infused weapons and armor ability. Attempting to infuse a 3rd item causes the oldest one to immediately lose its potency. You can also create 1 additional potion or scroll using infused potions or infused scrolls. That is awesome. With that, you can have +2 armor and a +1 shield, +2 armor, +2 weapon, +2 weapon, +1 shield, just whatever you want. Any combination like that. I mean, it's just amazing. Finally, we have Master Artificer. Upon reaching 14th level, your Mastery of Arcane Magic allows you to produce a variety of magic items. Here we go. You can create a single item of your choice, might I add, chosen from the magic item tables A and B in Chapter 7 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. It takes you 1 week to produce such an item, and you must rest for a month before using this ability to craft another one. So this is... This is something that... it's both very powerful, but it's also very finite in just exactly what you can create, because it's only the first 2 tables. I feel that's a nice kind of way of prematurely like nerfing it, making sure that, hey, you get a pretty powerful ability, but we're gonna put a cap on it, right? That way you can't just like create anything. We don't want you getting a cubic gate just because you hit 14th level, you know? That wouldn't be very good. Anyway, action points. This is just an optional rules feature. I already used something, not this exactly, but my own variant of it. The Eberron campaign setting introduced this concept to reflect characters who are larger-than-life heroes destined for great things. Action points allow a player to add a bonus on any d20 roll so that characters can dodge or at least mitigate the effects of bad luck, aka bad rolls. This rule inspired the Hero Points optional rule presented in Chapter 9 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. You start with 5 action points at first level. Each time you gain a level, you lose any unspent action points. You gain a new total equal to 5 plus half your level. You can spend an action point whenever you roll a d20 to make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw. You do not have to decide until you make the roll and learn if it succeeded or failed. This I love. It would not be nearly as useful without it, but the fact that it does have that last line of text just makes it, oh, it's so good. If you spend an action point, roll a d6, and add it to your d20 result, possibly chaining a failure into a success. You can only spend 1 action point per roll. In addition, whenever you fail at the saving throw, you can spend an action to automatically make it a success instead. This, I am kind of on the fence about. I do really like it, because that means that there's going to be a lot less situations where you're at the table awkwardly having to face down your friend and just say, sorry bro, that bucket's already been kicked over. But I feel like there are times where characters kind of need to die in order to either spark growth in another one, which you'll see in certain series, or maybe just kind of give the other PCs a sort of more serious tone setting that, hey, shit's starting to get real. We might need to be more careful or think about heading back or something, you know? Dragon marks are elaborate skin patterns similar to tattoos that grant the bearers innate spellcasting abilities. Each type of mark is tied to large extended families that each control a different industry or trade in Eberron. Now, a member of a given family possesses a dragon mark. Conversely, merely possessing a dragon mark does not grant special status within the house. You must use a feat to gain a dragon mark, so you're already foregoing an ASI. You're a member of its corresponding dragon marked house or houses. In the case of the Mark of Shadow, it must belong to its listed race or races in order to gain its benefit. I'm not going to actually go over every single thing because that would take absolutely forever, but here is your different dragon mark houses and race and influence tables. Apparent dragon marks are occasionally appear, which are not tied to dragon marked houses and have a variety of effects. To represent an apparent dragon mark for your character, choose a magic initiate feat from the player's handbook. A new feat, dragon mark. You have a magical mark that indicates you're a member of one of the dragon marked houses. Select one of the options from the dragon marks table. This thing right here. Yeah, I just highlighted. Gain the ability to innately cast spells and cantrips as summarized in the Dragon Mark's benefits table down below using the spellcasting ability listed under the ability column. Cast each spell at its lowest level. Once you cast a given spell this way, you must finish a long rest before you can cast it innately again. You must still expend any material components. Your Dragon Mark confers the following benefits. When you first take this feat, you gain the least Dragon Mark. You learn the spells listed under the least column. And of course, you can evolve it. So at 5th level or higher, your mark becomes potent, improving the lesser dragon mark. You also learn your spells listed on that lesser column. And finally, at 9th level and higher, your mark's power increases exponentially, becoming a greater dragon mark. You also learn the spells listed under the greater column. And so you'll see that it's not really anything incredibly powerful, but you still get some pretty decent spells. Like you get darkness, you get misty step, detect thoughts, locate object, lesser restoration, revivify, Lumen's tiny hut, teleportation circle. I don't know. I feel it's pretty good. Mike Marles is a senior manager for the D&D research and design team. He was one of the lead designers for the 5th edition of D&D. His other credits include the Castle Ravenloft board game, Monster Manual 3rd for 4th edition, and Player's Handbook 2 for 3rd edition. With that, let's go ahead and go over the reviews for everything. So, first off, I'm going to give the Changeling a solid, we'll say, let me see, I'll give it a solid 5. A solid 5 out of 10. It's not, no, I'll bump it up to a 7. I don't know, it's just the fact that the shape changer ability is so bolstered by good role playing and, intelligent creativity. That's just something I really appreciate, so that's something I'm going to give it a high mark for, because that's good. Shifter, I'm going to give it 5 stars. I don't think it's nearly as good as Changeling or Warforged, but it's not terrible. It's still good, I would even consider it. It's just not great. Warforged, 7 stars. I would say Warforged and the Changeling are relatively equal in how useful they are. Personally, I prefer the Warforged, but there are definitely going to be times where you'd want to be a Changeling, so there's that. The Wizard Tradition. So, I've kind of been back and forth on this one, but I think I'm gonna give it a solid 4 stars. I don't like it enough to where, well, that would mean by extension I'm saying I like it less than the shifter. You know what? No, I think what I'll do is I'll put this. I'll put this at no. The Wizard Tradition goes to 5 stars. The Infused Scrolls really kind of drags it down. I'm sorry, it does. That really drags it down for me. And, it's just, I don't know. Like, other than that, it's great, right? I like it, but I just, I don't know, that, that I'm kind of offended that they even added the line of text saying that you have to use up your Arcane Recovery ability on it. Um, Action points. This is kind of weird because it's like I'm grading a mechanic more so than I am an actual part of the game. Well, I mean, it is a part of the game, but you know, I'm like a primary component of it. But yeah, this is I'd give it 4.5. I don't want to quite give it 5 because again, like I said, I'm a little hesitant to think of exclusively positive things about it. But you know, Dragon Marks. Okay, this is gonna seem harsh. 2 out of 10. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I mean, on a good day, I'd maybe give it a third star just because there's like a different variation of it, an aberrant dragon mark, and I mean, I'm not really sure what that's all about, but whatever. Anyway, guys, I've been your host, Phoenix, with Dungeons and Masters. This has been my very first episode of my very first series on my very first video on the channel, so any support would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been your host, Dungeon Masters, signing out, and see you in the next campaign adventures.